Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, welcome to a new video. It is that time of year. I don't know what that means, but I am going to go through the year of 2019 as a whole for me personally, for this channel, for you guys. I'm going to say a little bit of thanks, first of all, for 200 subscribers. That's nice, that's pretty cool, and reflecting on this year, I've grown a lot. I've updated cameras, which is basically going from my laptop to my iPhone to my normal phone that I use right now. So, yay, growth. Growth is always good. Change is inevitable. However, I can change, and I will. Starting off with some very level-headed criticism that a lot of people thrown at me in some of my recent reviews, in some reviews in general, mainly my negative reviews, is that I can be somewhat harsh on the music, on artists, and maybe even sometimes the fan base. Starting in 2020 and throughout my existence on YouTube and in life, I'm going to be a little less headstrong. I don't want to be this mean, angry, harsh critic. I want to like every album. I want to love every song that exists. But that's not the case for the most part, because music is subjective, based on a person's opinion, based on a person's perception. Everyone's perception is bound to change, and people have their opinions made, and they can change as well. So, my opinion on me is that I'm too harsh, and you guys have also said that as well. So I'm going to kind of step back a little bit and talk about the music on albums and not the artists themselves, for the most part. I will, still go after albums that I think are terrible, but I shouldn't be attacking an artist and give them like a C-, which is equivalent to like a 4 out of 10. I mean albums that make me genuinely mad. I don't blame myself for going after the Nostalgia Critic The Wall album, because that album's atrocious. However, I shouldn't be talking so negatively about a Beck album, since that wasn't as bad as some people said it was. Or as bad as I said it was. I mean, it is not my personal favorite of Beck's. It's one of my least favorites from Beck. You get the point, I hope. There's a couple changes I want to make for the future, and one of them is the changes to the album review catch-up. So I'm going to have one more, maybe at the end of December, maybe at the beginning of January, talking about albums that I missed in December, and that will be the last review, the last album review catch-up that has only 5 albums. Now, in previous album review catch-ups, there were some EPs here and there. I'm going to eliminate EPs from the album review catch-up because it is called album review catch-up. So it's going to be albums. I'm going to review them quickly to catch up on the latest and greatest in music. I've also made a limit for what scores can be in an album review catch-up. So the lowest I will go is a C-, and the highest I will go is a B. That's about, if you want to adjust this to like numbers, that's about, C- is about a 4 out of 10, and a B is about a light 7 out of 10. Only albums, maybe compilations, maybe mixtapes, but definitely not EPs. Because EPs will be moved to weekends, and that's another change. I want to review albums on weekdays and review EPs on Saturday or Sunday. This way I can get more EPs into my schedule, put more EPs on a year-end list, because this year-end list of EPs was abysmal. I mean, I like the EPs on that list, I do. However, it was 5 EPs. There were other people doing 15 or 20. I was doing 5 because I didn't listen to much EPs, and even the EPs that I reviewed this year didn't even make it on to that list. So I'm going to work on that. Hopefully next year we could put out a top 10 EPs, and maybe if I'm a little ambitious, I'll put a top 15. I'm not too sure, no promises. Moving on from there, I was gonna make a series about reviewing albums, classic albums, or albums that have a year anniversary. there's a good list of albums that had their 10th year anniversary or their 20-year anniversary, hell, even their 30 or 40 or 50-year anniversary. And I was going to do that, but my schedule is so stacked that I don't know if I can do that. So for now, we'll wait and see. If I want to do one for 2019, it will have to be within today or tomorrow. I'm not sure. I am filming this as of December 30th. I'm also going to create a series called Echelon, which is basically a worst to best. It just is a different title. It sounds cooler, I think, if I'm using that word correctly. Basically, it's the same thing. It's an artist with a sizable catalog going through their worst album all the way to their best and ranking them in whatever, whether or not I like these albums or dislike these albums that I think are important to that artist or the genre. I am working on a Pink Floyd one, so that should come out in January. I am praying that comes out in January. I also want to make another series, and this is not a regular series. This is a series that I think will be few and far between, which is a good thing. Let me explain why. This is a series that I'm going to call the Revisited series, in which I talk about an album a little more in depth. An album that I reviewed on this channel, I talk about a little more in depth in a series called Revisited. I have a couple in mind, not necessarily, and this doesn't mean I'm going to rescore the album. This doesn't mean I'm going to re-review the album, because for the most part, I'm pretty happy with most of the reviews on this channel, and if I'm not happy with a review, I would delete it and null and void it, the end. Moving forward, though, I think the Revisited series can help tackle the problem of some people saying, you never really explained why you disliked an album. Not only do I want to tackle people saying you didn't really review an album or you didn't tell me why you disliked the album as much as you do, I also want to talk about why an album might have faded on me, might have grown off of me. Maybe an album might have grown on me a little bit. Or maybe I just didn't say enough in my initial review. That said, this is going to be called the Revisited series. Moving on from there, I want to be a little more insightful in my album reviews because there are points where I have talked about albums that I think, man, I really did not like the way I discussed that album, or man, I really think I reviewed that album pretty poorly. And there are some album reviews that are on this channel that I think, hey, you know, they're not my best, but they're good. And I want to change that for 2020. I don't want to be good enough. I want to be great. I want to be better. Every album review has to be insightful on the reasons why I don't like the album, on the reasons why I do like the album, and the reason why I scored the album in the way I scored it. So moving forward, I need to listen to albums more comprehensively, need to understand an album comprehensively, even for the album review catch-ups. There have been points where I've listened to albums not that many times and made an opinion on them, and going back to those albums, my opinions kind of changed, not drastically, but pretty somewhat significantly. That's that. I think that's all I want to say. Again, thank you for 200 subscribers. At this point, I have 230, if I'm correct, as of 2019, December 30th. Now that is out of the way, we are going to be talking about albums that I am anticipating. This is a two-list system. The first list are the knowns. This list is basically artists that are knowingly coming out with new music in 2020. The other list is the unknowns, which I think you can interpolate what that means. Basically, artists that I wish would come out with music in 2020, though it's not certain if they're going to come out with new music in 2020. Let's get started because it's a long list and there's a little bit longer of a list. So the first person that I'm mentioning is Phair, who dropped a single this year, 2019, and it was alright. Didn't mind it. Her last 3 albums have been pretty abysmal, but she made that classic album, Exile in Guyville, so I'm hoping she can put out another good project. At least better than the last 3. Hayley Williams of Paramore fame is set to release a solo album at the end of January, if I'm correct. I'm excited for that one. Caribou is going to release his album Suddenly in February. That's the title of the album, not just Suddenly he's going to release it. It's called Suddenly. It's going to release that in February. Noname is set to release an album called Factory Baby. That whole debacle she had on Twitter, I'm not going to talk about that. I don't care, honestly. However, I am excited for a Noname album. Her last 2 projects have been exceptional and good. Tame Impala, The Slow Rush, supposedly supposed to release in February. There we go. And Dua Lipa is set to release her album Future Nostalgia sometime in 2020. I'm excited for that. She's one of the few pop artists that I think are actually good. Grimes, with her album Misanthropocene, is set to release in February as well. There's a lot of albums releasing in February. But Moses Sumney's new album, Grey, is set to release in May of 2020. That one's exciting because his debut album is pretty good. The 1975 Notes on a Conditional Form. Their change recently has been exciting, to say the least, and I can't wait for another 1975 project. I mean, I like their projects. There's nothing exciting or exceptional about their projects, but I think they're pretty good, and I like their style. But this change, hopefully, is for the better. Oh No and Madlib are set to release an album under the title The Professionals, and that is set to release in the first couple weeks of January. I believe January 17th, if I'm correct. Justin Bieber has been teasing a new album in 2020. He's teased a couple releases and a couple drop dates, I assume. You know, Justin Bieber, as maybe annoying as he is, or as you can't get away from him as he is, he has an important moment, and he has an important impact on pop music as a whole, and artists from YouTube breaching into the mainstream like he did. But again, if it wasn't for ushering him in to the music industry, then where would Justin Bieber be at this point? J. Cole, The Fall Off, can he put out a consistent album? This is the one criticism that I have with J. Cole, that also a lot of people have with J. Cole, is that his albums are just not consistent in a way that they are not consistently good. I don't think J. Cole has a classic under his belt. I'll say that once and I'll say it again. I said it twice, actually. But hopefully he can put out a consistently good project. I just want him to put out a good, and I mean good, album in 2020. But again, he seems to be consistently inconsistent with albums. Idols should be dropping a new album in 2020 called Tone Land. I'm excited. Post-Punk Outfits put out a good 2018 album, as well as 2017's Brutalism. The Avalanches are set to release another album in 2020. This will be their 3rd album. Avalanches has been one of the few artists that I think have come back from a classic album. Their comeback album, Wildflower, was a pretty good comeback nonetheless. I'm excited to see whether or not they can stick the landing on this album, because I think both of their albums are pretty good. Actually, their debut album is really phenomenal, but their sophomore album's good as well. Weezer, am I excited for this one, or I'm just hoping that it's good? I think their album Van Weezer, which I hope it's not a covers album of Van Halen songs or whatnot, set to release in May of 2020. I'm hoping they can put out a good project. That's all I'm hoping for. Their Black album was not it. It was not it. Nope. Not a single moment on there who I think is either memorable, hooky, catchy, or even fun to listen to. Lil Uzi Vert has been teasing his Eternal Atake project ever since he said that he was deleting it and whatnot. Now he put out a single called The Futsal Shuffle, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, 2020, which sounds horrible in my opinion. However, I am hopeful that he can put out a good project, a good album. The Algiers, There Is No Year, they've dropped a single in 2019. I am excited for this album. I hope that it's good. I am praying that it's good, because their last 2 albums are really good too. Moving on from there, we have Kesha set to release her album in 2020. I think it's been pushed back, unfortunately, but we're going to let her work on it. I want a good project from Kesha. I think she's thriving right now, and even after the lawsuit with Dr. Luke and whatnot, I still think she has a great career ahead of her. Lana Del Rey is also set to release a spoken word album in early 2020, early January, if I'm not mistaken. Norman effing Rockwell was not a bad album, although I thought it was a little one-dimensional at some points. I'm hoping she can put out an interesting spoken word album. Who knows? Now we're going to go on to the unknowns. These are artists that I think could come out with albums in 2020. I don't know if they can come out with albums in 2020. Who knows? Only they and God know. That's about it. Chatpile released 2 good, phenomenal EPs in 2019. One of them made it on to my EPs of the year list. Hopefully they can put out an album. Rihanna is teasing an album, saying that she's not letting anyone else but her listen to the album. And Rihanna likes teasing her fans. No surprise there. But I'm hoping that she could put out a good album. It's been like 4 years since she's put out an album. The last one being Anti in 2016. If I'm not mistaken. Kendrick Lamar, he hasn't put out an album since 2017's Damn. And come on. It's Kendrick Lamar. We only get a few of them, so let's hope he can put out a good project. Can Fiona Apple and Joanna Newsom put out projects in 2020? We only hope. We can only hope. I know Fiona Apple's last project was in 2012's The Idler Wheel, and Joanna Newsom's was 2015's that's Divers, that's it. I don't have Apple Music, so I don't know if I can listen to the Joanna Newsom album, but I know I can listen to the Fiona Apple album. Will Death Grips release an album in 2020? It's not aware for them to go out on a year, although they did kind of not do a year in 2019. They only put out like a bootleg thing. That was the Gmail and their restraining orders, which, it was alright. It was pretty one-dimensional at some points. However, the year that I start reviewing music is the year Death Grips doesn't put out an album. They put out an album or an EP consistently since 2011. And this is the year that they just stopped. What the hell? Will Run the Jewels release their 4th album in 2020? They were supposed to release it this year. I don't know what happened. Maybe it's coming up this Friday. Who knows? Only Killer Mike and LP know. That's that. JPEGMAFIA put out a phenomenal album in 2019. Will he do that in 2020? I don't know. If he needs his time, I'll give it to him. Lady Gaga, will she put out an album in 2020? Fans are desperate for a Lady Gaga album in 2020. And also Billie Eilish put out a phenomenal single in 2019. Made it onto my year-end list, Everything I Wanted. And will this art pop, ambient pop, down-tempo style be on her latest album, or her next album rather? 2019 has been a humbling year for Drake. And will he put out a good project in 2020? I can only hope. Noise pop indie rock band Archers of Loaf have been saying that they were going to get back together. Maybe they might get back together. Maybe they can put out an album in 2020. The Weeknd has also said that he's going to put out an album in 2020, or at least he's alluding to that fact. Will Frank Ocean put out an album in 2020? He has also kind of been alluding to that. He's been putting out a couple singles here and there. Not a big Frank Ocean fan, but hey, I am willing and open to anything. Travis Scott put out a compilation, which I didn't really enjoy. However, can he put out an album? Can he put out an album in 2020? Let's make another album on par, or even better, than Rodeo. Let's do it. Playboi Carti. Can Playboi Carti put out a mixtape, an album? He's been alluding to it at some points. Whole Lotta Red. He has that leaked single on the internet, Kid Cudi. We can only hope for a Kid Cudi project as well. And a Playboi Carti project too. Kid Cudi, like I said, kind of almost Freudianly, can he put out an album in 2020? I can only hope. I really want a good Kid Cudi project. I really do. We all want a really good Kid Cudi project. Car Seat Headrests, can they put out an album in 2020? Can Fleet Foxes put out an album in 2020? What about Father John Misty? We can only hope. That's all I have for now. I am hoping and praying that maybe Absol, some other people that I really am excited for albums to come out and hopefully put out albums. Maybe Neon Indian can put out an album in 2020. Hopefully Porter Robinson can put out an album in 2020. I don't know. But that's going to end this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on some of these album peoples that they want to have put out in stroke. What albums are you anticipating in 2020? Let me know in the comments down below, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.